welcome to your F1 weekend warm-up ahead of the Belgian Grand Prix, and it is great to be in Spa-Francorchamps, an all-new Spa-Francorchamps, Lawrence Barretto.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes around here. They've really gone to town really on trying to update the circuit. We've got a lot of new asphalt around up here, Eau Rouge and Radion, where JP, our cameraman, started off this show. There's gravel traps as well. There's one down at La Source and there's 4 or 5 other ones. And what I'm really excited about that aspect is it's, track limits. We're not going to be talking about track limits anymore because it's gravel or it's the racetrack. So
and
I think
sharp gravel at that.
Exactly that.
Didn't know you could get sharper gravel than other gravel, but hey-ho.
Exactly that. But I hope that will kind of enhance the racing experience for the drivers and hopefully lead to a better race this weekend.
Yeah, well, we are excited to go racing again. We've had a few weeks off. Can you remember what happened in Hungary, Lawrence? Because I need the 60-second recap. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll do my best.
I know you love this bit of the weekend. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go!
So George Russell starting on P1 for the first time in his career. Could a Mercedes get his first victory of the season? That's what we're all thinking. And for the first 15 laps, we thought, well, hello, maybe he is in contention here. He pitted, as you would think he would do. But a lap later, what got interesting is Max Verstappen started at the back, was up to 5th already. He pitted, and that meant Carlos Sainz, who was leading, reacted and pitted as well. That put Charles Leclerc in the lead. Now, we've been here many times this season where he's been leading and he hasn't really managed to convert it. Unfortunately for him and Ferrari, it's another one of those times because they put the hard tyre on him. That kind of ruined his race. He dropped back out of contention. We don't need to talk to him about that until we get to the stand-in. So what happens then? Well, George Russell finds himself back in the lead. Carlos Sainz passes him, but then Max Verstappen goes aggressive and he pits and gets the undercut, and that puts him into the lead. Carlos Sainz, the strategy hasn't quite worked out because Lewis Hamilton, we haven't even mentioned him yet. He's up to P2. George Russell gets P3. Carlos Sainz has to settle for P4. Perez 5th and Charles Leclerc 6th.
Well done. That's a tricky one. We've had a few weeks and you could have forgotten it all, but you didn't. Thank you very much. Well, there we go. That was the Hungarian Grand Prix. And even in the lead up to the Hungarian Grand Prix, we were talking about the driver market. Yeah. Sebastian Vettel announcing his retirement. Then as we were all heading off to the airport on Monday morning in Budapest, bam, an announcement from Fernando Alonso. He'll be leaving Alpine and replacing Sebastian Vettel at Aston Martin. Did you expect that?
It was a bombshell. I think people in the paddock were thinking that he was weighing up his future, but no one was expecting an announcement for Aston Martin on that morning. I think a lot of the feeling was he was kind of edging towards signing for Alpine, but Lawrence Stroll worked his magic. I understand they signed the deal on Saturday night in the Formula 1 paddock, and then that was it. He's off to Aston Martin, replacing Sebastian Vettel. Lawrence gets his world champion. That's what he wanted, a world champion in his team to kind of add a bit of prestige.
And they are on that countdown, aren't they, with their 5-year plan. So let's hear from Fernando Alonso, the first time we've been able to talk to him since he made that announcement on the Monday after Hungary.
I don't need to go into much details. As I said before, everything started when Sebastian announced the retirement on Thursday. I had the telephone call from Aston on Thursday evening. We sit down, we agree on something, we sign on Monday and we announce on Monday.
How does it work? Do they present you with their plan? What was it that stood out in terms of the Aston offer?
Well, they asked me if I had contract with Alpine for next year. I said no, not yet, only talks until now. And they said, what do you want?
What did you say?
I said my requirements. They fulfill all my requirements, and they show me the project, the people that they took, the new facilities. So yeah, it was 10 minutes talk.
So interesting. Fernando Alonso will be driving for Aston Martin in 2023, which then opened up a ginormous can of worms. Alpine announcing Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri saying, no, I will not be driving for Alpine in 2023. And then, just as we're on our way to Belgium, Daniel Ricciardo announces he'll be leaving McLaren, having sworn blind, looking me in the eye in France, that he would be driving for McLaren in Formula 1 in 2023. What is that about, Lawrence?
Well, that was, I guess, at the time, the letter of the contract, wasn't it?
Fine.
And he, at that point, he was doing it. You can see how much it's hurt him. Like, he was heartbroken in that message that he released on social media. He's been heartbroken when we've had the chance to chat to him today. It's really affected him because he went there wanting to make this project work, and it just hasn't come to fruition, and he's going to be leaving McLaren a year early, kind of with unfinished business. So that is a frustration. Of course, 9 races still to go this season, where hopefully he can leave on a slightly higher point. But there was definitely a bit of a frustration from his side of things, and perhaps not a surprise because this has kind of been building, hasn't it, for a couple of months. Lots of people have been saying Daniel's under pressure because of the results he's delivering. So perhaps it's not a surprise, maybe the time in which it was.
And don't forget, the only driver to win for McLaren in, what is it, a decade?
I know. Yeah, since 2012, since Jenson Button.
It's not a bad
it's only
record.
Daniel Ricciardo,
yeah. So, well, let's hear from Daniel Ricciardo then after that announcement. He'll be leaving McLaren at the end of the year.
Certainly not the news I want to share or the outcome, I wanted. It's certainly like a situation I've never found myself in, but it was we tried quite long as a collective to try and make this work and get the car in a place I was happy with, to get the most out of myself and to find those results kind of consistently week in, week out. And we kind of just got to a point where it was what felt like a little bit of a dead end, and we'd kind of exhausted as much as we could, and still wasn't always an understanding of where the pace lied and why I couldn't kind of extract my potential. So that was then the decision that was made to obviously make a change. And obviously I after kind of going through discussions and also trying to just remove myself a little bit, I understood that it's probably best as well for me, moving forward.
I think that clears up all the news. Probably by the time this goes out, there'll be something else of the news agenda. Well, let's throw it forward to this weekend then. We're outside Red Bull. Surely Max Verstappen, with that huge lead in the championships, 80 points ahead of Charles Leclerc. Now, surely he's the favourite this weekend, Lawrence?
Yeah, I think so. He's got the momentum, 8 wins in 13 races, and after that kind of tricky opening 3 races where he had 2 DNFs, he's really not looked back and he's not put a foot wrong. And even when things have gone wrong, like even that spin in Hungary, it ultimately didn't matter, did it? He's still grinding out the big results, and he'll come here at a track where he's got so much support, 2 home races effectively in a row. The Red Bull operating well. What we don't know, of course, is what upgrades people are going to bring and whether that will make a difference, because ultimately I think the Ferrari is the faster car. It's just that maybe Red Bull are operationally the better team at the minute. And
also Max Verstappen, the stronger of the two. Obviously that goes without saying when it comes to the standings, but Checo has really been struggling with the RB18, almost getting worse and worse as the season has gone on with his comfort. Do you think that's something we're going to see in the second half as well?
Possibly. I felt really bad for Checo because he obviously started the season so strongly. I remember I was in the office talking to my colleagues and we were saying, is Checo going to fight Max for the championship? So strong was his form, and they had that Monaco Grand Prix win. I don't know what's going to happen because the car development and the car feeling has kind of moved away from his style, and it's not like the next set of developments are naturally going to move it back. So I would suggest that it's still going to be a little bit tricky for him. They might be able to get him into a better place where he's more comfortable with the car that he's got. But I don't think we're going to see this kind of trajectory where it will move slightly back towards him. And ultimately, I guess, if Max is delivering at this pace, they're commanding the Constructor Championship and the Driver Championship as well. You actually don't want to change anything, do you, really? You're kind of happy with the momentum at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. Checo, meanwhile, thinks he's got the capability to close the gap in the championship. He still thinks the title's there for him. Let's turn around and talk about Ferrari now, because, of course, that's the big battle, isn't it? Ferrari versus Red Bull. And Charles, as I mentioned, 80 points behind Max. Did these guys need the summer holiday? I feel like they needed that sort of whoa, take a step back, reassess.
I think so. I know every driver will say, I just want to be driving Formula 1 cars every day of the week if they could. But I think Ferrari specifically needed a break. I think the team themselves did, from the strategy to the engineers. I think it's just been a year that kind of could have been brilliant, but wasn't quite there. The drivers too, I think, needed a break, because it's been a roller coaster season for Carlos. He's had those highs of nearly winning Canada, winning in Silverstone at least, but then some massive lows that kind of pulled him out of the championship fight. Charles, 5 times in the lead he was at one stage, and just couldn't convert those into Grand Prix, and that's what accounts for that 80-point lead or deficit in the championship. So it's been a difficult time, came at the right time, and we come here to Spa, Monza, where actually they've got the best car, and if they can operationally get everything right, strategy, just play the whole weekend smoothly, they should get a 1-2 here. I know Binotto said that in Hungary, and I don't want to be tempting fate, but they should do, really. So it'll be interesting to see what new bits they've brought this weekend, how that compares with Red Bull, but also whether they've just got their head in the game. And that's what's will be critical, I think.
Of course, Charles Leclerc took his first win in Formula 1 here a few years ago. But hopefully the summer break has given him a renewed vigour to come back fighting for the second half of the season. Charles spoke to Lawrence a little earlier on.
Only 9 races left. We've already done 13 races, which is crazy. Things goes by so quick, and we'll try to have the best 9 races possible.
Now I know you've got great memories here of winning here, but the last couple of years haven't been too fun to you. How are you feeling about this circuit and trying to get your championship back on track?
Yeah, 2020 and 2021 have been very difficult, not only here but everywhere. Basically, in all the tracks we were going, we were not competitive. So this year it's a very different story, and I'm sure we'll have a great race here in Spa.
I'm going to talk driver market again. Bear with me on this one. So Haas, they have Kevin Magnussen obviously back in Formula One, Mick Schumacher. There's uncertainty over Mick's future. But I've heard, and I'm sure you have too, Gunther Steiner's been interested, maybe even on the phone, to Daniel Ricciardo. Does that make sense for you, going there?
I think it's one of a number of options for Daniel. I guess it depends what he's trying to get out of not just next year, but the next few years in Formula One. If he can maybe take on a project, wants a fun one, because that's what he's going to get here. It'll be quite cool working with Gunther, and he's seen that they've at least taken a step here. But if he wants to be fighting for podiums regularly, then I would have thought like an Alpine project makes much more sense. But you know, if he can stick around for a bit, you know, they could be an option. I just don't know what Daniel's thinking at the minute. It's tricky, but there is a door open, like you said, because Mick isn't a certainty here. There are a number of drivers in contention.
The Daniel situation makes me think it would almost be like a step backwards, going back to, you know, obviously what was the Renault team and now the Alpine team. So that's an interesting one. Then what I'm hearing is that, you know, maybe Alpine want Mick. I know Esteban Ocon's keen.
Is he really?
Yeah. We'll hear that later on.
I mean, I haven't heard that. Alpine are probably best placed in the minute to make the next decision, because if you look on paper, they're obviously the best in the Constructors' Championship of 3 seats, but also the trajectory that they're showing suggests that they are probably the team that are most closest to challenging Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. So in my mind, they want to get the driver who's going to help them the most going forward, and at the moment that says to me Daniel Ricciardo. They might believe that Mick's got something, but then part of me thinks, well, if Haas is saying maybe Mick isn't so strong, have Alpine seen something that Haas have missed? Like, I'm not sure. It's a tricky one, but you know what? Esteban's in that team, so he might know something I don't.
I've just got nothing to add to that. It's just so confusing.
It's hard, right?
I need to draw a diagram. Let's talk about Haas's performance though, because of course they had the upgrade in Hungary.
Yep.
And the good news is that the changes they made finally, because we were all waiting for that upgrade, weren't we, for several races, it actually correlates perfectly, give or take, to their simulator. So that's great news. So it might mean we see a step on for them, because Mick's now going to be running the upgrade as well. Slightly tricky perhaps to have that technical directive with the more scrutiny kind of being paid to or more attention being paid to the floor and how the car runs. So hopefully that won't set them back. But hopefully some good things to come for the Haas team this weekend and going forward. So McLaren, I mean, we've spoken a bit about them already. Maybe let's talk about Lando Norris. Just remember that he drives for that team as well at the moment, because all the focus has been on Daniel Ricciardo. How's Lando feeling coming into this weekend? I haven't seen him today. Is he in good spirits?
Yeah, he was in really good form in the TV pen. I don't know if that was just because I complimented on a great haircut to start with. I got him on a good
It was Max Futrell, wasn't it, who did his what did you call that?
I called it a streamlined.
Oh, I see.
Effect,
okay, you're going for racing terminology.
I know.
A grade? No.
It is a grading, isn't it? Like
a grading, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
So looking sharp and feeling good really, because he's come in here as the stronger McLaren driver for the course of the season, got that podium in Imola, has generally had a good time here. I know he obviously had that accident last year that robbed him of pole, but he was fighting for pole. So that shows you how strong he can be around here. He was saying today, you know, he's probably not going to get that again. But I think what he's shown here and across the season is that he is a contender when he can get that car working in a good window.
Yeah, exciting to see what he can do this weekend in Spa-Francorchamps. If we spin around now, it's actually a really great paddock this, because it's split level. I'm sure you guys know from years gone by here. Split level, so we've got more of the hospitality units down here and the engineering stations further up on the second level. There we go. Kevin Magnussen just having a quick chat outside Aston. So everything's quite cosy down here, which is great. So Aston Martin here, I know we've covered off obviously the news around, you know, the driver lineup for 2023, but in terms of the progress they're making, Lawrence, Are they making any? I guess is my
They're definitely
question.
making progress.
Yeah,
they're definitely,
okay.
but it's all relative in Formula One, isn't it? And they're just not making it as quickly as they would hope. They know that they were starting from quite a low base, so even if they were making big steps like the rest of them, they're still kind of chasing the rest of the field.
And they had that new iteration, like the part 2 of the car.
Yeah, exactly. They brought an almost new car, didn't they, midway through the season. So I think they just need to get through this year, is the truthful answer, and then really focus on next year. We'll have a year where everyone will have seen everyone else's designs. You can start to build that inherently into your car from the beginning, and Aston Martin have the resource to do that. And obviously finishing 9th or 10th or down there in the constructors will actually help them in the wind tunnel testing time. So actually, it kind of might help them in a funny sort of way.
Sometimes you want to be maybe even strategic to finish a little lower so you get more wind tunnel testing time, and
Exactly.
They are one of those teams. You said they've got to get through the last 9 races. I guess Sebastian Vettel's got to get through them but enjoy them as he sort of finishes off his Formula One career. Such a funny time, isn't it, when you kind of know that you're heading to the end?
Yeah, I think it's probably mixed emotions for him, because I imagine he is quite excited to get out of the door, and I mean that in the sense of he's got a whole new life ahead of him and he probably just wants to get going. But equally, this has been his office for how long now, and you get used to being here, and it's your routine, and so it's going to be hard, I think, in some ways to let go of it. And he still wants to finish strongly. I think that's what I really like about Sebastian. He's always going back to, but we've got to make sure that we finish the season strongly. We've got to make the most out of this car. We've got to get some results for the teams, for the guys and girls who are working really hard. So it's going to be hard to do that and get big results. But, I don't think points are out of the question at races this year.
They've just been on the cusp, haven't they,
exactly
really?
that, and
10th, 11th.
They're edging closer, and so if they can just make that little step, maybe it's always going to be 9th and 10th, and then they can look to capitalise when things don't go well otherwise. So that is, I guess, in some way progress, but it's not the kind of progress that they aspire to. They want to be fighting for championships in a couple of years' time.
Or the progress that perhaps Seb signed up to initially. Oof.
Tricky.
Well, let's hear from Sebastian Vettel talking to Lawrence earlier on about what's left of his F1 career.
I think the approach won't be too different, but I guess the capacity in my head will be different because I'm not thinking about this anymore. So very much looking forward to the remaining races, and looking forward to work with the team. We obviously try to work with the package that we have and hopefully score points every race.
Fingers crossed. Have you had a chance to chat to Fernando since it was announced that he'll replace you next year? Is that the kind of thing that you would do? Talk to him about it?
Well, I think we respect each other, but we don't have a really close relationship. Never had, so. I think he will be fine. He will do fine, and I obviously wish the best to the team. I know the guys now after 2 years very well, and the team is growing, and hopefully next year's car will be a lot stronger than this year. So in this regard, I wish him and them all the best.
You do have a good relationship with Daniel Ricciardo. I just wondered what you felt for him now in the way that things have kind of unravelled, and because he's still driving at such a high level.
Yeah, and I think, even if he struggled a little bit, which is fair to say, but there's more in him, and I still rate him very, very high. I find it a bit sad that people lose, I don't know, maybe their creativity or ideas to extract that potential. In the end, I don't think the McLaren team is happy for him to leave. I think it's the top people calling the shots, which might be less than a handful of people. Whereas the rest of the team, I'm quite sure that they absolutely love Daniel and are happy to work with him. He has the right approach and mindset. So it's a shame that obviously it didn't work, but I wish him all the best, that he finds a great position in the grid, a great car, to prove what he still has to offer.
Let's turn our attention now to AlphaTauri. So much promise, I feel, in the first half of the season, then it slightly got away from them. Do you think they've got enough learnings from the first half to kick on again in the second?
I mean, Francois will certainly hope so, I think.
P5 in the standings.
I know. How often do we say that? It makes me chuckle. One day they'll get it. One day, I hope.
One day.
The tricky thing here is that they brought this development package just before the summer break, and it kind of worked on Yuki's car, and Pierre, for some reason or not, wasn't quite getting the best out of it, and which is a strange side of development because normally it's Pierre who gets the most out of it, the more experienced driver. So it'll be interesting to see whether they've had these, Shubman's shut down, so they didn't have the whole period, but they had some time after Hungary to kind of understand it a little bit more and hope that it could be better. Otherwise, it could be a long run into the end of the season because they haven't got an infinite pot of money. They're operating below the budget cap and they're not going to be pushing up to it. So they've got to spend their resource wisely, and it might be that if they don't start delivering with this package soon, they need to fully turn their attention to next year.
Yeah, Yuki was telling me earlier that, they've been sort of trying lots of different setups over the course of the first half, and it almost feels like they need to just kind of go, okay, this is what we're doing, and get some consistency. So perhaps that will come in the next few races. I'm standing outside the most beautiful new spec
Swish,
Alfa Romeo hospitality unit.
It is Swish, yeah.
Look at that. I love a topiary bush.
I don't
think they're real, but do I mean topiary? I think I do. Anyway, it looks great. They've had a little bit of a makeover for the second half of the season. Looks great. Some special designers brought in. Alfa Romeo, a bit of fragility in the first half of the season. That always seems to be the word that I associate with them in 2022. Yep. Had some upgrades in Hungary, and I think looking good for Joe to get them as well, because it was just Valtteri who had them. So hopefully they can push on if they can get on top of that reliability.
Yeah, I think the early signs, at least from what Valtteri was telling me, was it was a step forward, and I think that's the positive. The driver's saying that, even if you don't translate that onto track, I think what we're seeing this season, bring an upgrade, not going to see instant performance like perhaps we used to do in previous years. It might take 1, 2, 3 races to kind of get the best out of it. So I think that's encouraging. It'll be good for Joe to get that package because he obviously had that good run of form, and then obviously that massive accident. Great, obviously that was okay, but it kind of just stalled that rhythm and that momentum that he was building. So hopefully a bit of a break, a car that's operating well, and hopefully they've kind of started to iron out some of those quality control elements, I suppose, that they were a bit weaker. And then, I think these teams should be punching in around 4th, 5th, the best car on the grid. It just depends, and they've got to get to the finish line, haven't they, really?
They certainly have. Have you seen the bucket hat that Valtteri's designed?
Yeah.
His logo,
cool. He's got his own one, right?
Yeah. I actually told him to do that in France. And I said, you should do your own. And today he said, I did. I've done it. I've done
the royalties are coming to you, surely.
I can only hope. Let's hope. Someone get in touch with Valtteri's management for me. Alpine, talk of the town at the moment, talk of the paddock. So much going on in terms of driver market, but we need to sort of focus back in on their performance because they've been doing so well, which I guess is the sort of question mark over why Alonso wants to leave something that's actually doing pretty well. They could go well here, and it's so nice. This is Esteban's Spa is where he drove a Formula 1 car for the first time. Drove a Manor.
Yeah, Manor, of course. Yeah, that feels like such a long time ago now.
We've all grown.
It was only 6 years ago. God, that is scary. I feel sorry for Alpine in the sense that they've had actually a really stonking year, and there's been so many other storylines and so much going on that perhaps they haven't had the plaudits that they deserve. That they have got this car, they got on top of Porpoising really quickly. They've added performance to the car relentlessly through the year. Fernando hasn't really had much luck. He's made a few, hasn't kind of got the best out of it. Esteban's been pretty consistent, and I think they would have had a higher points total and been further away from McLaren, actually up in P4 in the Constructors' Championship. So really exciting times, I think, for this team, not just in these last 9 races and specifically here, but I think for the future, because they're just moving in the right direction.
So whoever's going in there, got a good little seat.
You've got a great seat,
Should we go and have a quick little knock on the door?
If they saw my go-kart in, I think I know what the answer's going to be.
Oh, well, it is an interesting time for Alpine at the moment. Interesting time for Esteban Ocon, waiting to find out who will partner him in 2023. He has got his eye on someone. Let's hear from Esteban now. He was talking to me in the pen earlier this afternoon.
Honestly, it's been a surprise for everybody, for the whole paddock, really. It's sad to see Fernando leave. I think, we are teaming up very nicely. We were teaming up and we are teaming up very nicely, and there is a great atmosphere into the team. So, it's a bit sad because we were, progressing, going where we wanted, and we need to keep that going, obviously, for the rest of the year. But it won't be too far. We're still gonna race, with him in 2023. So. He's not going to be far, and he will be for sure missed in the team.
You're a great guy, the team is doing well, it's a great outfit. So are you surprised that Oscar has said no?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, the contractual situation and everything behind. What I know is that, inside the team there is no, thinking the race team is completely, dedicated to the performance that we have to do this weekend. and that's what we should be focused on. On my side, I've recharged the batteries, I've prepared well. I feel 100% ready to go for the 9 races that we are going to have in 12 weeks. So I look forward.
Sorry to sound like a broken record, but I'm going back to driver market.
There's a theme.
There's a little bit of a theme here. I loved Alex Albon's social media post. Gosh, I sound like an old lady saying social media post. The way he sort of kind of tongue-in-cheek announced his renewal with Williams in the same way that Oscar had refuted the claims that Alpine had put up. That is a big word for me, refuted. So big news really that Alex Albon will be staying with Williams. It seems like a relationship that has been going very well.
Yeah, it's been going so well. And just quickly, he was very pleased with that tweet and very pleased with the reaction that went down, so, which is very funny. But you're right, great team for him to be involved with. They are maybe not going in the upward trajectory that they would all hope for, but it's going upwards. You know, things are getting better, and it's great that Alex can have some stability in his career. It's obviously tricky the whole time with Red Bull, so I think that's given him a lot of confidence. I think it's starting to bring the best out of him, and he's got to put his faith in the team and hope that they deliver the goods, and hopefully, you know, things keep progressing in the right way and the funds keep getting put in the right place and the right facility gets improved and they crack the car design, of course, that's key. Then it could be a very good place to be for Alex.
And will he be with Nicholas Latifi,
well,
though? There's a big question
mark.
Yeah. Let's pause on driver market because it's just an endless topic. We can discuss at dinner. Don't
yes,
you worry.
Sounds good.
And we now move, and they're in a different position. I feel like Mercedes aren't normally down here, but I think it's because they've got this wonderful branding on their hospitality.
It's cool,
55 years of AMG, and beautiful livery, and you said you saw Toto Wolff out on track today. He loves any opportunity to get out on a racetrack, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he was a racing driver at heart, isn't he? I think that's why he loves this business. But I saw him and he had out of the car, having done a few laps, overalls rolled down, just could not stop smiling. Absolutely loves it. Absolutely loves it. So it's cool that he got to get out there and have some fun and celebrate this pretty cool anniversary.
I've done a few filming days where Toto's been out on track, and it literally gets to the point where they're like, can someone try and get Toto to come back in? And I think he just loves it because he's just away from everyone. He's out there enjoying it. Will he be enjoying this weekend? Seamless segue from me.
Beautiful.
I feel like they had that momentum, and then you get the summer break, and it's a bit like, ooh, how do you carry that on? Because almost you'd want another race weekend. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you need time.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think they're going to come here pretty confident, to be honest. I think that Hungary was a real turning point. I think you saw the language change from guys and girls at Mercedes and the way they talked about their progress. I think there was a real shift change, and I'm not saying they cracked it, but I feel like they've now got a real direction that they want to push in. I'm not saying that they're going to see George or Lewis P1 like we saw in Hungary, but I do feel like they're going to be in the mix, or properly in the mix, not maybe just here, but consistently now, if they kind of keep up this development. So that's exciting to have 3 teams. This is what I remember writing a pre-season feature, and I was like, 3 teams going to fight for it. And then we got to the first race. Oh no, they're not. 2 pieces. So I think it'd be great if we can get 3 kind of at some point this year fighting for that win and making it really exciting.
Well, we've seen 4 cars abreast here at Spa before, was
my
it?
goodness,
so who knows? Can 6 go into 1? We're excited. I think the Formula One sort of community is excited, as you say, to see 3 teams backing at the top. Will Mercedes be right up there this weekend? I spoke to George earlier on in the media pen.
I think you need sometimes a bit of a moment to digest what has happened and try and understand why you were competitive, and in a way having a positive last race ahead of the summer break. You know, you go into the summer break feeling good, and we had 3 weeks off where our morale was high as a team. We were on our front foot, and our rivals, some of them had a difficult weekend, and that's for sure challenging going into 3 weeks off the back of a difficult race weekend. So yeah, probably wouldn't have changed them.
Well, I think we've spoken enough about the driver market, the potential for this weekend here in Spa. So I think it's only right that we move to predictions, Lawrence.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm never ready for this part, but I'm going to give it a go.
Okay, go on then.
So I'm going to go Charles Leclerc win.
Whoa.
I'm going to go Carlos Sainz seconds, and I'm going to go Max Verstappen third. Do you remember a time when that wasn't a shocking prediction? But yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?
So you don't think Mercedes is going to go well at all this weekend?
I think they're going to be in the mix, but I feel like this is the weekend where Ferrari are going to get it together and they're going to be there. And I'd love to see 5 cars. I think it's going to be close. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be close. But I don't feel like Mercedes are quite up there yet. And as long as Ferrari get their act together, Max is always going to be in the mix, I think. So that's why I've got to put him on the podium. But I think that this is the weekend,
So
Ferrari.
Charles,
Please don't let me down,
Carlos, Max is your
Charles, Carlos,
prediction.
Max. Yeah. What are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for George.
Okay.
For the win. I know it's a bit rogue. We kind of go big on these predictions, mainly to get everyone else chatting. But I'm going to go George. Then I'm going to say Max, and then between Charles and Lewis, I'm going to go for Charles. And then we've got 3 on the podium.
Nice.
3 different teams. So I think there we go. George, Max, Charles.
So that's actually quite similar. So Will Buxton, of course, not here.
He's on holiday.
Yeah, he's on holiday on a beach in Rye, I think. Lovely place.
In the UK, South Coast
of
of the UK.
I know, loving it, but doesn't want to miss out on the prediction. So he's gone for George win. So
Okay,
you.
similar,
so
yeah.
Maybe you guys know something I don't.
No.
Lewis P2.
I don't.
Lewis P2 and Max P3. So he's going Mercedes all
Okay.
out. This is their weekend.
Right, well, as we know, sometimes predictions are right. Will got his right the other day, so maybe that's why he sent one in, because he wants to back it up with another win.
There we go.
Well, I wonder who you think will be on the podium. Lawrence and I will be here. Oh my goodness me.
Hi guys. You needed to go lower, Alex. Lower. And Nikki lower too.
That was hilarious. I was like, who's that? What's going on? Oh, see, everyone's in good spirits after the summer break. We'll be here all weekend, bringing you more of that kind of behind the scenes action. But from Lawrence and from me, it is now. Goodbye.